Welcome birds and mammals to Madagascar Monday. I'm your host M3K and this is a series I've decided to start on this channel where we will be talking about different subjects and theories from the Madagascar franchise. In this episode we will be exploring the depths of madness as we descend into the mind-bending effects of Kowalski's Inventions Episode 1 The Chronotron.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh boy, this is going to be a complicated one. Here's a guide I made on the events of the Penguins of Madagascar episode. It's about time. So if you haven't seen it, this episode might not make much sense. Now as you can see, there are 4 parts to this. Or rather there are 4 timelines. The third and fourth timelines are what the episode directly shows us. And the first 2 timelines are a speculative way of explaining how Kowalski got into this situation in the first place. Alright, let's dive into the madness. We start in timeline 1 with Kowalski 1 inventing the Chronotron. This Kowalski travels through time. We don't know if he travels to the future or the past, or how far he ventures from the point in time that he started. But most likely it involves slapping a hippie.
finally those hippies can be stopped!
And somehow this causes the end of the universe. We don't know how or if it actually does cause the end of the universe. What we do know is that Kowalski at least believes that the universe is going to end because of the Chronotron. And he goes back in time to stop himself from creating it. This brings us to timeline 2, where this new Kowalski, we will call Kowalski 2, is stopped from creating the Chronotron by the first Kowalski, and everything is fine and Kowalski never created the Chronotron and the universe is saved. Hooray Kowalski. Just kidding, everyone is dead. Somehow Kowalski not creating the Chronotron also causes the end of the universe. But luckily Kowalski 2 recreates the Chronotron before the universe ends, and travels back in time to make sure he does so in the past in order to stop the universe from ending. Unfortunately he travels back to the same time in which Kowalski 1 convinced him not to make the Chronotron, creating a third Kowalski, bringing us to timeline 3 in the start of the episode, and successfully destroying what little is left of my sanity. Before we move on to timeline 3, let's recap what happened in the episode as it fills the gaps between timeline 2 and timeline 3. Kowalski 3 builds the Chronotron but needs one last piece. This purple glowing tube of liquid aka
5 ounces of McGuffium-239.
Kowalski 1 tries to stop Kowalski 3 from completing the Chronotron, and employs Private to stop him without getting directly involved so as to not destroy the universe. Meanwhile Kowalski 2 employs Skipper to stop Kowalski 1 and ensure that Kowalski 3 does create the Chronotron. Unfortunately 3 Kowalskis in the same room breaks the universe, creating a crack in space-time from which nothing can return. With that covered, we can now move on to timeline 3, or what should more accurately be called timeline infinity. Kowalski 3 realizes that creating the Chronotron was what caused all of this in the first place, and goes back in time to talk to Private and try to stop the creation of the Chronotron, making him the new Kowalski 1. Kowalski 1 goes back in time to talk to Skipper and ensure that the Chronotron is created, making him the new Kowalski 2. Kowalski 2 is left behind and is presumably destroyed by the end of the universe in the current timeline. This repeats infinitely each time, creating a new Kowalski and destroying an old one. Congrats Kowalski on inventing immortality. However, Rico on the other hand is a maverick who believes that nothing should last forever, and thus, at some point during the cycles of timeline 3, of which we have no idea how long this time loop has lasted, Rico picks up the Chronotron and throws it out of space-time and thus removes it from having ever existed in the first place, and now finally the universe is saved. Just kidding, Kowalski destroyed the planet with shaved ice. But that's a topic for another episode. Thanks for watching this episode of Madagascar Monday. I hope you enjoyed it. That is, if you enjoy the feeling of having your brain turned inside out. I've been M3K and this has been the mind-bending effects of Kowalski's Inventions Episode 1, Chronotron.